Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Maggie, how big of a fan of Indiana Jones are you?
Big fan. Grew up watching the first 3 on VHS religiously as a child.
I get it, religiously, because the Ark of the Covenant and the Jesus
The
Cup.
Holy Grail.
I grew up enjoying Indiana Jones. I was an Indiana Jones fan. Hated Temple of Doom. Still do. I think Last Crusade for the longest time was my favorite. And it always reminded me of like Back to the Future Part 3.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I guess because it's like Old West stuff. I don't know. Obviously, Crystal Skull came out.
Yeah. Oh, I remember being psyched about that one.
And how did you feel about Crystal Skull as you watched it, after you watched it? Like, how did you feel?
Remember, being excited before watching it. I liked it.
How did you feel about the aliens?
I don't know. It's still... I remember back then I was like, oh my god, it's aliens. This is so cool.
What?
Yeah. And like, look back at it now. I'm just like, why did they do that? Why did that thing become...
Yeah. I remember really liking it in theaters and watching it and being like, oh my god, it's the thing.
Yeah.
It's Indiana Jones. Again, this was before us getting just bombarded with nostalgia. Every other movie now has, somebody from a movie from fucking 30 years ago or something. Like, oh my god, it's a callback. Right? I hadn't got jaded to that just yet. And so finally we ended up here. We got James Mangold and Steven Spielberg as producer. Harrison Ford's back. And this movie, I would say it's much more down to earth. Pun not intended on the alien talk, right?
Yeah.
But it's much more of a character movie.
Yes.
A character-focused movie on Indiana Jones.
Yes.
Like I feel like it's still got that classic Indiana Jones, romping adventure.
Yeah.
Especially the prelogue, epilogue. No, it's the opening of it. Like the whole opening of the movie, like the first 10, 15 minutes is like its own standalone Indiana Jones adventure, which is really good. Some of the CG, not amazing, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about the spoilers.
But it felt like classic Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
honestly, like I think that's the best praise I can give it. Is it felt exactly like Indiana Jones felt in my memories, And then once we actually dive into the present day of Indiana Jones, obviously still like the 60s, we start seeing kind of the toll that time has taken on Indy, and like the world's kind of starting to move on from people like Indy, and like there's this whole kind of background story of like the space race and all of that, and it's very much like literally this man obsessed, not even obsessed, but an archaeologist studying the past, like his love is of the past, right?
Yeah.
And like everyone is only looking to the future now, and like him coming to grips with that.
Yeah.
And like the world is literally leaving him behind, because we've moved into this new era. And I think that just that is the backdrop, and then everything that he deals with throughout the movie. I think it's a great like character study. Like I really do. I think that they get to the heart of Indiana Jones. I think probably more than any of them, except maybe
Raiders.
Well, I was gonna say the Last Crusade. I feel like the stuff with his dad.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah. You're fine. It's easy to get those confused. But I feel like this, from an emotional standpoint, is probably the closest to that. I would put it on that level.
Yeah.
As far as like the Dial of Destiny, I'm not gonna get into spoilers, but that whole thing is don't laugh.
I can't help it.
It's I don't know. We'll talk more about it in spoilers, but that's the only piece of the movie that I'm like, I don't know
how to feel.
Yes, I'm just conflicted within myself.
Yeah.
Because like I have a thought, but then I have an argument against that thought, and then I have an argument against my argument, and all that's internal, And so it's just still trying to come to grips with that of like, how do I feel about that? So anyway, that's my top level stuff. Maggie, how did you feel about it?
Sorry.
You're fine.
My face is itchy. I really enjoyed it. It really, shows old man Jones.
Yeah.
I really...
Junior.
Let's see. I'm trying to think without giving anything away. I love Phoebe Waller
Bridges.
Fleabag.
Yeah. Phoebe. Phoebe.
I really liked her as this character because she kind of reminds me of Miriam in some way.
Yeah.
She's a little bit more worried about money, though.
Yes. She's a fun addition to the cast, for sure.
I just like the fact she just pissed off Indy every chance she got.
Yeah.
That's why I like.
And
and
that's
he
what
just got so mad.
Yeah, and that's what he needed, for sure.
Yes.
You know, someone to help keep him, to give him that fire.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah. Because he's done.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm retired. Callista, wear my fucking pants.
Where's my white shirt and blue jeans? And Mads
Mikkelsen.
I really liked his
He did
performance
great,
in this.
honestly. He did really, really good.
He did really good.
Probably probably the best antagonist we've had.
Yes.
Like there's more to him.
Oh yeah, there's
than
a whole
any of the others.
Yeah.
Because the others are just one note villains. Yeah. I feel like this one
had there's history.
There's some thought to it.
Yeah. I'm so sorry. And I'm trying to think of anything else.
How'd you feel about like just the action and stuff? Like him being old man Indiana Jones. Like, did it feel weird?
It kind of made me sad in some parts, you know?
Yeah.
Especially like I know this was in the trailer, so I can say it.
Yeah.
When he cracks the whip at the table, like used to, you know, people be like, oh my God. No,
Yeah.
everybody pulls out a freaking gun.
Yeah.
And he realized, oh, yeah, everybody's got guns now.
Yeah.
It's not like what it used to be, you know? I don't know, just seeing it for his age, Harrison Ford, I will say kudos to him.
Yeah, he's 80.
He looks good.
He's 80. Yeah,
he looks good.
Great. Honestly, he looks fantastic.
Yeah, he looks really good.
Yeah.
I was kind of shocked. I was like, way to go, man.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously we've talked the past few weeks about his like press tour and the things he's been talking about, you know, but there's been like a lot of really good like moments of like sincerity from him and like seeing him look back at his career as a whole, you know. And so I mean, if this was, you know, I don't think this is his final movie, period, but like this is a great way to showcase why we loved Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
You know, like it's not even just that it's Indiana Jones, but it's like it's Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
You know. And he's great at it. He's funny.
Yeah,
he's sharp as a tack throughout the whole thing, you know.
Yeah, there's never a moment that he was like out of character.
Yeah. And it never felt like he was winking to the camera. Like he was the same Indy that he had been.
Yeah.
It, honestly, in its own way, it felt like Logan.
Yeah,
like,
I can see that.
Yeah. Like, I mean, obviously it's not, you know, Logan is much different tonally and stuff, but like, whereas that was the perfect way to send off Wolverine, this is kind of the perfect way to send off Indiana Jones. Like, it really helps kind of say, here's the last story of Indiana Jones, you know. And again, we're not getting into spoilers with any of that. So, I did ask our audience earlier today, I said, how would you rate Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny?
Oh, no.
20% gave it 5 stars.
Okay.
11% gave it 4 stars.
Okay.
39% gave it 3 stars. 9% gave it 2 stars.
Okay.
And 21% gave it 1 star. Yeah. So, 39%.
Don't you even know who Harrison Ford is?
The majority gave it 39%. And the next lowest was 20%, the next lowest was 1 star, 21%, and then 5 stars at 20%. So very kind of across the board.
I think it all boils down to is, did you grow up with it? Did you get to embrace it?
Yeah. Like, if you're coming into this late, like if you didn't grow up watching Indiana Jones, if you've never seen Indiana Jones, and like especially if this is your first one, I mean, I don't think it's going to hit for you.
And also, like, some of the things that Indy says, and some of the things that that you see throughout the movie, like callbacks to other movies and stuff. Like, if you don't have that, I think, you're going to be lost. You're not going to be like, oh, look, this movie.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a throwback to classic, well, not even, well, I mean, I guess like classic serials like it's always been, but even just an older way of making movies, you know? And like, if you weren't into those, then you're probably not going to be into this. Like, it does a well enough job of like, who is Indiana Jones? What is his motivation? What's going on now? Like, explaining everything, like getting you on track. Like, I definitely think you could watch this as the first one and be fine, in the same way that you could watch Logan and be fine.
Yeah.
It's not going to mean as much, but like, you could watch it theoretically.
Yes.
But you know, it's like Tombstone. Like, if you didn't like Westerns, you probably weren't going to like Tombstone, but if you loved Westerns, then you're going to fucking love Tombstone because it's a modern Western, you know? But, you know, Westerns aren't like all that big anymore. No. And these kind of action adventure movies aren't really that big anymore. No. Like, you know, and these like classical fist fight, you know, family appropriate, you know, like that stuff just doesn't really happen anymore, you know? And so I think that's just, in a way, the Indiana Jones franchise is kind of living out the same story that Indiana Jones is in this movie, where time has just kind of moved on from needing that, you know? And like, I disagree.
I disagree too.
Like, I think we could use much more movies like this. You know, I think that it's, honestly, I really love this movie. Like, it's a really great movie. I really loved it too. It made me tear up a lot, you know, especially near the end. It did make me
cry quite a few times.
It's got a very strong emotional core to it that I wasn't expecting. Yeah. Some of the stuff that they do in this that could have just been an easy throwaway dialogue that didn't have to matter ends up just being like really used to service the character. And it's just, it's wonderful. Yeah. Like, honestly, I think they completely nailed this even more than the original creators did in Crystal Skull, like way more.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
which I think, didn't George Lucas and Steven Spielberg kind of help?
Oh yeah, I mean they served as executive producers.
Help out.
And I'm sure James Mangold like really wanted to do it for them. Like, you know, like, hey,
give me
is this
some
okay?
pointers. Harrison, how would you say this?
But it was good.
Yes,
I thought they did a great job. Anything else you'd like to say?
Nope.
I would say go watch it. I think we kind of covered that already. If you're a fan of Indiana Jones, definitely go watch this. Try and go see it in theaters. I think it's a great theater movie. But obviously, if you wait till Disney Plus or something, I mean, that's totally fun too.
Yeah.
I mean, don't do it just for Disney. Disney has enough damn money. It doesn't matter. But, you know, if you're not a fan of Indiana Jones, like if you've watched the Indiana Jones movies and you don't like them, then this probably won't change your mind.
Don't seek it out.
And if you've never watched any of them, but you're a fan of like the Logan style stuff, or even like Unforgiven would be another movie that's kind of similar, then give it a shot. Yeah. There are worse ways to waste $10, you know, like a Twitter Blue subscription. All right, let's talk about some spoilers. Spoiler. I can't believe Mutt was dead the whole time.
He really was.
He actually was. They fucking fringed Mutt.
That was the time Matt stepped out.
Ah, damn it. I did.
He stepped out to go use the bathroom. And at this point in the movie...
Damn you, Bladder. You fooled me once again.
Indy has been framed for murder because of the Nazis. And, of course, Nazis. And he's all over the news. His picture's all over the news. And the news reporter says, Dr. Jones has recently lost his son and is going through a divorce.
Yeah. Which we see.
We see the separation agreement. Yeah.
After the prologue.
Yeah. And like, I was like, oh crap, they killed off Shia LaBeouf's character.
I was surprised.
So Matt comes back. He's like, okay, what did I miss? I said, well, they framed Indy for murder. Yeah. And I said, and the news reporter said that his son is dead. You're like, what? I was like, they killed, you said Mutt? I said, yeah.
They fridged Mutt.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. And honestly, I mean, you know, if we're going to write out the character, Like, that could have just been an easy... They could have done something super easy, right? Been like, he's out living his own life or whatever the fuck, right? But the fact that they turned that into the emotional core of this movie, you know?
The reason why him and Miriam are going
through. The reason why Indy is feeling everything that he's feeling, you know? Like, I mean, think about it. He's dealing with the world moving on. Yeah. He's retiring, right? Which means he's losing the one thing that he's been doing his whole life, which is teaching. He's lost Marion. Mm-hmm. He's lost Mutt. So, like, he has no legacy. Like, there's not going to be anything to do that. And then the rest of the world is looking just up to the stars, you know, instead of sniffing in the dirt.
Well, like he said, he's like, a visit to the moon's like a visit to Reno.
Yeah, that was great.
I was like, I love that so much.
And, you know, of course, all the Nazi stuff, which I love that they were like, somebody tweeted out today and I retweeted. They said, I love that anytime Indiana Jones says Nazis, you can just tell how stupid he thinks all Nazis are.
Yes,
He's like, and good, because all Nazis are stupid.
That's right.
He's always like, there's fucking Nazis. You know, you can just feel it. You know,
Nazis. It's like, it's always, oh wait, no, that's snakes.
It's like snakes. The same way he always, Harrison Ford, like, talks to nerds about, like, Star Wars. I feel like that's the way Indiana Jones talks about Nazis. You know? Yeah. And I really thought it was interesting that they decided to include not just Nazis, but like Nazi sympathizers.
Yeah.
You know, they're basically just white supremacists. Like, they're Nazis too, you know?
Yeah.
I kind of think that they could have, like, walked into that a little bit more, maybe dealt with that a little more. But, I mean, they didn't not include it. So, I mean, that was good. All of that aside, I think we can't go any longer without talking about the third act. Okay.
All right. Dial of Destiny, y'all. So, okay, this is all about Archimedes, which is a mathematician.
Rumbaldi.
God, no, it's Matt. Don't make it into Alias.
It's just Alias.
Don't. Anyways.
Rambaldi. That's it.
Archimedes apparently made this Dial of Destiny, and it was broken to two halves.
Yeah, we don't have to explain all
that.
But
anyways, they put it together, and guess what, Matt? Explain away.
So this dial, he's used mathematics to figure out, hey, if you go to certain coordinates at certain times, it basically opens a time rift.
Yeah, fissures in time.
Yeah, and you can time travel. Okay, and so this Nazi's like, I'm gonna go back to 1939 and. You know, I'm gonna save the war.
I'm gonna kill the Fuhrer.
I'm gonna kill Hitler.
And I'm gonna do everything that he did wrong right.
Yeah. And so we're kind of led to believe that's what we're gonna see.
Yeah.
And like the opening of the movie is gonna become the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And like maybe Back to the Future 2 it a little bit, you know, where we see how Indy was actually helping like young Indy or whatever. But then they don't do that. They don't do that at all.
They don't do that. Okay, so good setup. They have this big old warplane they get on.
Yeah, yeah.
And they have full-fledged World War II Nazi uniforms on.
Yeah, they all just walk out in full Nazi uniforms. Like, holy shit. And then they go to the coordinates, and there's a rift, and they go through, and
they're like, we did it. We're in 1939, you know. Yeah. We did it. And then you start looking, I'm like, if this is Italy, there shouldn't be red sails on them boats.
Yeah, And so it's like, what, the fall of Rome or something like that? I forget what they said. But it's some fucking war from like BC. Yeah. And like, it's at the time of Archimedes. Yeah. Like, that's when this is.
Yeah.
And like, I'm so conflicted about this because, like, on the one side, you have Indiana Jones getting to experience the thing that he's been trying to see his whole life, right? He's been looking through time his whole life. He's in love with history, and now he gets to be there and experience history, right? And like the whole thing of like the world is leaving him behind. So now he's going to leave the world behind for what he loves, history, right?
Yeah.
And he's going to actually get to experience the thing that he's loved forever. And, like, there's a piece of that. Like, that's in that line of thinking, that's beautiful, right? Like that is a good thought.
And I'm
as far as like a character
no,
study.
No, you can't do that.
Well, I mean, we're all coming from the idea of like, hey, time travel, you can't fuck up the time stream.
No,
like,
you can't help out Archimedes make a watch, bro.
Maybe he was always supposed to be there. It's a dial of destiny,
That's
not the dial of platitudes, Maggie.
That's what Archimedes says, Jen.
And so then, but the other part of me is like, but this is terrible. Like this is time travel. Like, it kind of felt like the Aliens again, where it's like, did they go too far? Like, that's what I was asking in my head, like while watching this. Like, I was like, I'm watching this and I'm enjoying this and I'm letting it happen, right?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to get stuck in it, but in my brain, I'm like, are they jumping the shark right now? Because I mean, they're literally time traveling to BC, you know, like, and that's a lot. Like that, let's not forget, okay? That is a lot for this franchise, okay? I know, and this is how I start making it feel better. Like, you know, the Ark of the Covenant opened up, and like fucking God like melted Nazis' faces and stuff. That happened in this, right? People had their hearts ripped out, and like we're still alive, and there was voodoo and stuff, and like. That happened in this franchise, right? They found not eternal, but
cup, a holy grail.
Well, but the knot, like he never died.
No.
Like, you know, he's immortal. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
An immortal knot, thousands of years old.
Because if he left the temple, he'd.
Yeah, and like his dad literally was saved by the water and stuff, and like, you know, so I mean, we have seen elements of the other side.
Yes.
You know, where things get wild, right?
Yeah.
Like that does happen. The
But
aliens
then we saw the aliens, we're like,
we was like, maybe that's too far, you know? Like aliens felt too far. But then we get here and I don't know. I still don't know how I feel. Like
okay, this is how I feel. I don't Jeriana's emojis are cracking me up. I don't feel like I do thinking back about it like Crystal Skull. Like, I actually, was it weird for Indiana Jones to go back in time? Yes, it was.
Yeah,
I will agree. Yes, it was. However, I think, you know, because he got shot. And, like, you know, I'm like, dang, man, if he dies right here, I mean...
He becomes history.
He at least he's, you know, there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And, like, and he got to meet...
Maybe he digs up his own bones.
And he got to meet Archimedes. And I thought that was pretty cool. Like, talking to him in Italian, you know?
Yeah.
And... I don't know. I'm like thinking like, you know, anytime we meet, and I know he time traveled. I'm trying to keep that in mind, but like I'm thinking of like, you know, if you ever get to meet somebody you really admire and look up to, and you just, you know, you're like, can I just stay here with you?
Yeah.
You know, and Indy wanted to stay with him.
Yeah.
And like you could see it in his eyes. He wanted to stay with Archimedes. Yeah. And it looked like Archimedes was like, oh yeah, come on.
Archimedes was down, man. He's down to clown.
Oh yeah. He's like, tell me all the secrets of the future.
Tell me the lottery numbers.
And I like the fact that he was so stubborn. He would not give in to the goddaughter.
Yeah.
And she's like, you can't stay here. You will mess up everything. You're not supposed to be here. You're not supposed to be here. And she just...
Cold cocks him,
yeah.
Yeah.
To me, I don't feel like it went like the aliens. Whenever I look back at the aliens, I just cringe. I don't cringe at this.
Well, not yet. I mean, I'm just saying, it's been 15 years we've been able to take in the aliens and like deal with it, right?
Yeah.
Like, and to your point, and I'm just playing devil's advocate right now.
It's okay.
To your point, I feel like the Archimedes stuff, him meeting his hero Archimedes, falls a little flat just because we've only heard about that in this movie.
Yeah, I know.
And like, I know that there wasn't like an overarching person, you know, except also, for God, maybe, you know,
always God.
But like, you know, there wasn't like an overarching story of like, you know, it wasn't like Rambaldi in Alias. There's not always been like this MacGuffin that carried from movie to movie.
Yeah.
So I get that they couldn't really do that.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I feel like if it was something that had just been set up prior, like it just would have paid off a little bit more.
Yeah.
You know, this just feels like, oh, like this feels like anything.
Well, and also
you know?
too, what really bothered me was like, okay, if he really, I understand he's an archaeologist and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, of course, yes, you're going to, look at these people that made up all these inventions back then.
Yeah.
Like, oh, holy crap, man. They were like ahead of their time. They thought this through. That's,
like Da Vinci.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Rambaldi.
Right, like Rambaldi.
And, oh God, I lost my thought. Come
He's
on.
archaeologist looking back at all these people.
Yeah, and like, you feel like if he really did look up to Archimedes, he would know about the Dial of Destiny. Like, her dad did.
I mean, I feel like they explained enough of that. Like,
yeah, I know, but I just find it funny that, Indy gave him that piece, wherever they got off the train. And he's like,
it
here.
belongs in a museum.
He's like, here, do whatever you want to with it. And then he has to go to his house to take it away from him because he became too obsessive over it.
Yeah.
And
well, I just assumed that his friend was just a super fan. Like, it'd be like if we went and met Shigeru Miyamoto. Like, if you got Shigeru Miyamoto's like autograph, you'd want to give it to me because you know how much more of a fan I am.
Yeah.
And so, like, I feel
and
like
I understand he held on to it because
I do the same for David Beckham.
Thanks, Matt.
You're welcome.
Anyways, like he held on to it, yes, because it was his friend's. Also, it was a piece of history.
Yeah.
But like he put it away in a drawer, hidden behind a bunch of arrowheads.
Yeah. Well, he kept it hidden.
He kept it hidden because he knew people were after
he
it.
didn't believe in like the power of it.
No.
You know.
Kind of like he didn't believe in the power of Kalima.
Jeez. It's so, you know, I think that's one of the aspects of it that maybe, I don't know, the whole movie, like the movie's great.
Yes.
Okay. And like, I feel like this third act almost happens because the third act has to happen and not necessarily paying off anything. Mm-hmm. You know, like we have that great conversation of like, if you could change the past, what would you change? And he talks about telling his son not to enlist.
And she asked, you know, why did he do it? And he said, just to piss me off.
Yeah. And so like I, you know, we get that. And then we get to the past. And I'm not saying, I'm glad he didn't actually change anything.
Yeah.
Like if he had actually like, you know, saved Mutt or like did anything like, you know, that fucked with Tom and stuff. Like, I wouldn't have liked that. That would have been way too far.
No, that would have been too much also.
But what did he, I guess what my problem is, what did it give us?
Yeah.
What did this bring to the table?
Killed Mads Mikkelsen.
I mean, that couldn't have been accomplished any other way. Like, I guess that's No, like that's what I'm saying is like, I'm trying to understand like from a movie that's very much focused on the character's journey. Right, it's about Indy, you know, dealing with the world, leaving him behind. It's about Indy, you know, he's lost everything and trying to find peace, and he's not finding peace. Like we get to the movie, like we get to the third act, and he's in the past and finds the things that he's been looking for his whole life, and then the choice gets taken away from him. And like, don't get me wrong, I completely understand where Phoebe's coming from. She did great. I love all that. I think it's great stuff. Mm-hmm. Not, you know, it's not about that. It's just from a writer standpoint of like, Indy didn't choose to not stay. Like it got removed. Right.
Yeah.
So, and then he wakes up and Marion's back and all that's great. You know, all that's wonderful. But like, what did he learn?
Yeah. Like
we've set up this really deep, you know, thoughtful movie of exploring the psyche of this guy who just doesn't belong in his own time, you know? And like when we get to the point where he gets to choose between, you know, the future or the past, then we just take the choice away. Yeah. You know? Like, and it doesn't feel fulfilling, I guess. Mm-hmm. Like I would have liked to have like a catharsis of Indy, like realizing that his place is in the present, you know, and that maybe there's beauty to be had in the future.
Him having the realization.
Yeah. And I feel like he never really, like, short of being with Phoebe, and we see his growth over the course of the whole movie.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm not saying it's not earned by the end of it, but like it just would have felt more complete if he had a reason to continue.
Yeah.
And like where it leaves us, you know, he reconnects with Marion, which is great, but I feel like he's not really learned anything that's really going to keep him from feeling, you know, like there's no hope in the future.
Yeah.
You know, like he still feels like a man out of time.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, that just, to me, that's the part that I think bugs me the most, is like, just in and of itself, time travel, I'm not against it. I like time travel movies. I love time travel and a bunch of shit. And in Indiana Jones, I'm not like super against it, you know, as long as the payoff is worth it.
Yeah.
I think Crystal Skull falls flat because the payoff means nothing.
Yeah.
It's just spectacle, right?
Yeah.
Them seeing the big spaceship and the alien, it does nothing for the movie, right? But, you know, Raiders of the Lost Ark, it means something. Right? Like he learns to respect the things that he doesn't believe in. You know, like he believes, right?
Yes.
Literally his eyes are open because his eyes are closed. Yes. You know what I mean?
And don't look at it. Close your eyes.
And like he reaches that connection with his father and lets go of the past and rejoins with his father.
Yeah.
You know, when his father calls him by the name he wants to be called, right? And so like that works.
Yeah.
Right? And so I feel like with this, like it's driving to that, and it has the best chance to do it again, and then it just kind of drops it a little, you know. And like, I don't know, maybe I'll see it again and think different. Like, well, no, this is actually what he learned through this, and like, you know. But I don't know. Just for a man that was always like the center character of the franchise, for him to not make his final choice. Of what to do with his life just feels wrong.
Yeah.
You know?
I agree with you there. But like how wherever he told his goddaughter, you know, if you could go back in time, what would you do? He would say, you know, make sure he didn't enlist, and that way her and I wouldn't lose a son, and she couldn't get over losing him, and I couldn't take care of her.
Yeah.
And I mean, he started to lose everything, you know, like you said at the beginning, like he's retiring. He's not going to be doing the thing that he's like the most passionate about.
The world is literally moving on from him. Yeah.
And Miriam's wanting to move on away from him. And I know we don't get that. Oh, what's the word?
Catharsis.
Not catharsis.
Payoff,
which is probably catharsis.
It's okay.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to think of easy word.
You're fine.
We don't get to see the payoff, or I don't know if there's something that they, you know, filmed and they decided to cut it. But, and yes, she took away his choice, but I think that needed to happen. He needed to realize that he can't stay in the past.
Yeah.
That if he could keep moving forward, you don't have to be at the same place with everybody else, but if you can just inch by inch try to get there.
There's a reason for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And whenever Miriam shows up to, you know, she's like, you didn't have any food.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
How can you, you know, live like this?
Well, and I mean, obviously the antagonist and protagonist in this, like, you know, the Nazi and Indiana Jones, Mads Mikkelsen, whatever the hell you want to call him. They're running parallel storylines. They're both just two men who cannot let go of the past.
No.
Right? Like, literally, they can't let go of the past. And to the point that, you know, the Mads Mikkelsen's character, like, it destroys him, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so, like, we have to see that hero's path, you know, pay off.
Yeah.
Where, you know, if he goes the way of changing the past, you know, that ultimately destroys Madge Mickelson, right? The bad guy.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't do the thing that he should do.
Yeah.
Which is let the past be the past and move on, right? But because he can't accept what happened, that's how he loses his life, right?
Yeah.
That's how he loses everything.
Yeah.
And so Indiana Jones is on that same trajectory, and then the fulfillment of that in a story would be for him to choose, in spite of wanting that, to make the hero's choice to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that's why it's just a little flat, because he didn't, you know. And I don't know what that story should have been. Like, I don't know, like, you know, it would have to be a reason for him to choose to go back to the present.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, a lot of things will do, like, you know, if somebody dies, and, you know, they could, like Casper, you know, like, I mean, this is, I'm trying to think of something that's not a spoiler for a movie recently, and there's a lot of movies that have done this.
Yeah.
But, like, you know, in Casper, somebody, her dad dies, and, like, Casper could choose to still be a real boy again.
Boy.
Yeah. But instead lets her dad come back, right? He makes the hero's choice, right? And so, like, I feel like Indy needed to make that choice. Like, in spite of being where he wanted to be,
Yeah.
he chooses the greater good.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, again, he doesn't. Mm-mm. And, like, it almost feels like, like he's almost mad when he wakes up that she stole that from him, you know?
Yeah. He's
until
like,
he finds Marion and finds peace and stuff. And that's great.
Yeah, that's great. But I think we needed that payoff.
Yeah. Even if it had been Archimedes saying something like,
see, that's what
I would give anything to see what you've seen, you know, the future, like speaking so highly of like the future, right? And whereas like Indy has been obsessed with the past, and maybe Archimedes could be like, you know, the past is dead, but the future is living forever or something. You know what I mean? Like it never ends, right?
Yeah.
The everlasting promise of the future, you know, something like that, right?
Yeah.
And like maybe that's how Indy understands why he needs to go back, right? And finds peace with the struggle against Tom.
Yeah.
But we don't get any of that.
Yeah. I mean, like at that one point, like whenever it's Phoebe and Archimedes and Indy.
Yeah.
And Indy's like, I want to stay, you know, and Archimedes is just like looking at him like, you know, yeah,
just stay, like, spaceman.
No, bro, you're the person's making that thing.
Yeah.
Do you not understand what you're doing? And also that the fact that I think we heard this right, that no matter what you set that dial to, that you go back.
Yeah, that was confusing. Like I don't think it was necessary, and we may have just misunderstood it. But and like it seems like, and let us know in chat if you've watched this. Let us know. But it sounds like later they're talking to Archimedes, and he's like, "You are always going to end up here."
Yeah.
Like there's that, but then Indy says something to the effect of, no matter when they would have, like whatever time bubble they would have went through or whatever, that all paths led to this time, not to the time of. Yeah, whatever that matched or whatever
you wanted.
Yeah. But again, maybe he meant it in like a Destiny way.
Yeah,
you know, like we were always going to meet because Destiny had fated it to happen.
I really liked whenever, you know, Mads Mikkelsen, he set the dial, and they're taking that big old warplane into, and they're getting closer and closer to that little time bubble. And Indy goes, "Continental drift," and Mads Mikkelsen turns around. Archimedes didn't know about continental drift.
Yeah.
This is wrong. You're probably going somewhere way off.
Yeah. But it won't be 1939.
Yeah. Which Indy was right. It wasn't 1939. So.
It was weird, man.
Yeah.
Like, I liked it.
Wild ride.
I liked it. Again, I love the movie a lot. And like when him and Marion got back together at the end, and like they held each other.
Yeah.
And like you could feel. Yeah. Like you could feel the heartbreak between them, and like them reconciling with each other. Like that was beautiful. That made me cry. Right. Like they had sold that emotional aspect of the whole movie.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so I felt that. You know. So I mean, like it's just that one piece. I don't think it's necessarily us talking this through has helped me realize like what my problem is. It's not the time travel per se. It's that it didn't do anything.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it was almost just a flash in the pan spectacle or spectacle as opposed to mattering.
Yeah. Like, I mean, like in Temple of Doom, you know, he, like, and I know Eric Voss talks about too, because I really liked how he explained it, because I just enjoyed watching the movies growing up.
Yeah.
But like how in Raiders of the Lost Ark and Last Crusade, you know, he, you know, understood to believe.
Yeah.
And then in Temple of Doom, he had those stones and he didn't think they did anything.
Yeah.
And then whenever he realized, oh yeah, they do, they can help protect me, you know, he says that prayer. And I don't know where I'm going with that. I don't know. It's
but
just
it paid
like,
off.
It paid off. Yes. Yeah. It mattered. Crystal Skull.
It didn't really matter. Like, not really.
John Hurt talking like a crazy man. Didn't really matter.
Like, there's 1,000 ways that could have ended. Like,
yes.
Like Raiders of the Lost Ark had to end that way.
Yes.
For the movie to end the way it does. Like, for it to make sense, right?
Yes.
For the story to have paid off.
Yes.
Last Crusade had to end that way. I can't really speak to Temple of Doom because I don't remember it that well. But like, you had to have his choice of letting go of the Holy Grail because his father, his life, you know, that catharsis between them mattered more, and his dad being obsessed with it and telling Indy to let it go, like
that was big.
That's how it had to happen. You know, you can't set up his need for the Holy Grail without him giving up that need for the Holy Grail for making that hero's choice, right? Yeah. So same basic thing. What a movie! Well, I mean, it was a very interesting conversation. Yeah.
One more.
Okay.
Bone to pick with this movie. How dare they kill my precious boy Antonio Banderas?
Oh yeah.
I was so excited to see him once I realized it's like, oh my god, yeah, that's right. They casted him in this.
Yeah.
I love this so much. He's taking them diving. I love this.
Yeah.
I love this so much. He's best friends with Indiana Jones. And then they shoot him.
Yeah.
And I was just like, really? I really wanted him to be.
It was very quick. It was very quick. I think
that made me so sad.
That felt not stunt casting, but just casting someone well known to kill him off. You know, and I did think Phoebe did fantastic. Honestly. Oh yeah. Like, I would watch another movie with Phoebe.
And that the boy.
Oh yeah, I can't think of his name. Yeah.
He was really good.
He was awesome. He did really great.
Good. Short rounds energy all around. Yeah. Loved it.
And I liked that her primary focus was not about history and not about power, but just about money. You know.
Yeah, but
we hadn't really experienced that.
But she also was looking out for him.
Well, yeah,
that little boy.
But I mean, like, just comparative to like the antagonists we've had in the past, of like they're all looking to gain power, or money, or not money, but history preservation or whatever. Yeah. Right? Like, this was just, I want to have money.
Yes.
You know, and like we needed that. We needed it. I thought it was good, and I would definitely watch another movie with her. I thought she did a fantastic job. Fun.